Hey guys, wanted to do a little bit of a video. There seem to be a lot of videos on YouTube where hotshotters are trying to talk you out of doing the big truck world. And, many of them are saying, well, I had a big truck, and so these are numbers, they're real, they're my numbers. And, they probably are accurate numbers, but it doesn't mean those have to be your numbers. You can give two people the same puzzle and they'll put it together entirely different. And likewise with business, no two people will run their business the same. Some people are more shoot from the hip. Others are, very numbers oriented, and others run just based on experience and how things feel. Anyways, myself, I got my CDL back in 1986. I worked for a small company. They rented construction equipment, and so for me that was advantageous because I learned how to operate equipment, load it, unload it, secure it. I got a lot of experience getting in and out of tight job sites. I kind of learned how to look at the ground and say, this ground cannot support the weight of my truck. And so you don't see me axles deep in the soft stuff. I've learned what to stay away from and what types of soils and that kind of thing. And so needless to say, I have a lot of experience with trucks, equipment in general. And so I kind of wanted to start with the trucks themselves. A lot of people that are telling you to stay away from the big trucks, they scare you with the $150,000, $160,000 price tag on them. And while yes, this is the price for a brand new one, you can definitely get into a good truck for substantially less. My particular fleet, let me switch over real quick. My particular fleet consists of used trucks. This here is a picture when we went down and looked at them. I purchased 4 of these trucks. Yes, I use Mack trucks. Some people think they're ugly. Honestly, I don't think they're pretty either. However, our primary line of work is oil field, and the Mack product just seems to hold up better. So I purchased 4 of these for $80,000 out the door. That's my toy, sorry. And so there's some of the fleet as it's being, those are basically trucks that aren't in use, and they're being either rigged up with the oil field equipment or their backup power units in case of a failure. There's an example of how expensive parts are for big trucks. Everybody tells you how expensive it is. What's expensive is the labor. The parts are not that expensive. This is one axle and brakes for a semi truck. Go buy your brake pads for a 2019 Ram rear axle 3500. Let me know how that goes. There's my night shift. Back when the oil field was still booming, that's the night shift, resting up to go out while the day shift was out doing their thing. Anyway, so I figured I'd show that just so people kind of know what we're talking about. These are 2012 and 2013 Mack MP8 powered. They're 505 horse, 13 speed. They got 330 gears, and so they cruise comfortably between 65 and 70, and grossing 70,000 pounds. I get about 7.25 to 7.75 miles per gallon. That's pulling a box van. And so when people tell you they're getting 5 miles to the gallon, they're probably pulling 355 gears, 377 gears. They may have a big C15 Cummins or, a D16. This is a slightly smaller engine, but it's 500 horse, 850 foot-pounds of torque with 13 speeds. So they get the job done. Are they going to win races against, a 600 horse, 2050 torque motor? No. No. But when that truck has to pull over to get fuel, we keep purring right along and making that fuel mileage. Anyway, so if I were to buy a semi-truck for Hotshot, that's kind of what we're talking about. So a little truck like this is ideal. Now, it's got the fairing on top. I probably wouldn't run that because there's no need for it. I would probably pull that off. They're asking 30 grand for it. Odds are they paid 20, because that's about what these things are worth on the wholesale level. But of course, the trucks I just showed you, I purchased at wholesale level. I didn't purchase them from a dealer. This company dumps fleet, like 12 at a time. And so what they've done is when they get ready to dump some, they send me an email with a list of what they have. If I'm interested, I fly out. I tell them I'll take these. They invoice me. We wire transfer the money. And then I got to work on getting them shipped back over to my yards. But they're as is, where is. There's no, they don't go through them and clean them up. They don't shampoo the interiors. A truck like this, this selling company, the dealer, purchased it and probably washed it, maybe even washed it with some of that shiny soap that makes your paint look good. They probably steamed everything off and degreased it. You never know. Maybe they even had someone compound the paint to make it look a little better. And they probably went through the interior. See, that looks all nice and clean. I'll bet you they sprayed that with some degreaser. And they're making it a sellable product. The interior looks tidy. I guarantee you it's not how they bought it. So of course they're going to mark it up and try and make some money. They're not going to sell it to you for what they bought it. And so they're asking 30. For what you guys do, this is ideal. I would bring a mechanic, someone you trust, have them go through it. There's a whole bunch of things that a mechanic can inspect and warn you of what's coming. This includes how much brake life is left. This includes how much adjustment is left in the clutch. You can do oil samples on fuel, coolant, engine oil, transmission fluid, and differentials. This will all tell you more or less the state of health of each component. If you ask why fuel, you want to make sure you're not getting coolant in the fuel or oil in the fuel. This could be a sign of injector issues, head issues, things of that nature, or even just contaminants. Anyway, some of the things they can't tell you, that simply, truly, does the engine have as many miles as they say? That's difficult because someone can switch out the ECM for one with less miles on it, and there's no way to tell. Your oil samples might help, but they won't tell you the true mileage. Anyway, so if I were to purchase this truck and all the samples came back good, I would consider doing rods and mains. It costs, depending on the shop or if you have a buddy, anywhere between $2,700 and $3,500. The bearing kit itself for most engines is about $700. Honestly, if you're mechanically inclined and have tools, the only thing you probably won't have in your toolbox is a torque wrench capable of doing 450 foot-pounds of torque. You might be able to rent it or borrow it. Or if you're a hands-on kind of person, it would make sense to have one anyway so you can torque your wheels correctly instead of just hitting them with an impact. And this truck would be a good purchase. Something like this for what you guys do, pulling, a 30,000-pound gooseneck trailer. This truck here will get you great fuel mileage. It'll pull it effectively. Most importantly, 5 years from now, you can probably still flip this truck for about $15,000 to $20,000 compared to buying a $60,000 pickup truck in 5 years with 500,000 miles on it. I tell you what, look for one on the market. Look for a 5-year-old pickup truck. It could be a Ford, Dodge, or Chevy with 500,000 miles on it, and tell me how much it's worth. How much they're selling it for. Not necessarily how much it's worth. How much they're selling it for. So, okay, that's a truck. And yes, the tires are more expensive, but you need 6 of them. And yes, they're more expensive, but you don't replace them every 4 months. You'll get like 250,000 miles out of each tire. So, these are the types of loads that are available. A lot of YouTubers are saying that, you know, oh, these loads are $2 a mile, and you're lucky to get that. You know, that may have been the case a couple years ago. I couldn't say for sure. I wasn't hauling freight at that time. We were focused on the oil field. But, you know, here's a load, 860 miles, and, you know, $373 a mile. So you can do this in 2 days. So in 2 days, you'll make $3,200. Here's another one, you know, 753 miles. Granted, you don't want to go to Florida, so never mind the first one. So there's a load to Virginia, you know, 355 a mile. There's another one to Virginia, 355. There's 314. You know, there's loads in the threes. There's no reason to take anything for less. I mean, why would you? And these are no hassle, no call, no nothing. I can just click the blue button and the application will activate, telling me to go pick up the load, what the address is, and go get it. You know, if I don't like the rate, you know, if I look at a load, you know, let's say this one, and, you know, it was supposed to load, well, it's supposed to load now. It's got a really wide window, so maybe that's not a one to play with, but when they have like a narrow time and that time has already started, you can place a bid. You know, you could probably bid some of these closer to $4 a mile, and odds are they'll approve it because it's got to get shipped. You know, here where you have that load, this one going to the same place, and they haven't booked the first one, they may just jump on it. And so my old go-to, when we first started hauling freight, we started with Amazon. And, you know, the upside to Amazon is they pay quick. Their loads are really, really light. By light, I mean 10,000 is the average load for their stuff. 10,000 pounds. And so, you know, here you have $5.79 a mile. Them ain't bad apples. From Flagstaff, Arizona to San Bernardino. There you have $3.23 a mile. It's a team load. I'm sorry. Yeah, $3.23 a mile. $3,300. And you can knock that out in under 24 hours. So there's $4.80 a mile from Bakersfield out to the Vegas area. There's $4.80 a mile, $3.05 a mile, $3.60 a mile, and so you get the picture. And it's the middle of the morning. I mean, people have already grabbed the better paying loads. I should have made this video like at 4 this morning, and you would have seen even higher rates. Why? Because this all works on a demand basis. Amazon has what they call a flex system, and the closer it gets to the time for it to ship, the more urgent it becomes to haul the stuff, you know. And so it ships, the rate goes up as it gets closer to the ship time is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, you know, there's another spot where you can go pick up loads. And again, the loads are very well paid. they pay in a week. I would show you Coyote, but it doesn't show the rates. And so here's another one, Convoy. The upside with Convoy is they pay in 2 days. 2 days after you finish the load, they direct deposit money into your account, and there's no factoring fee, there's no quick pay discount, there's none of that. Now again, when I looked at this load board earlier, it was much better. People have been grabbing up the loads, of course. And yeah, so the majority of their loads now are the multiple stop ones, which the way they do it, it takes up a lot of your time. Like here's a load that starts on Tuesday, but you don't finish till Friday, and you only make, $3,000. This one's a little better, where Tuesday to Thursday, it's still kind of a long time. In my mind, they should pay me rent for my trailer to do that. And so probably should have looked at this one earlier. Again, because people are grabbing the loads. People got up out of bed and started booking them. So there's a few less of them. But nonetheless, you can see there's activity there. There's decent pricing. There's money there. Now, the other idea of fuel. Fuel is one of those things that make or break you. And a lot of people, frankly, are lazy. So the one at the very top, I updated that. If we switch to map view, this is Gas Buddy, by the way, which everyone should be using. So the little blue dot's obviously me. I'm parked at this truck stop, waiting for my load time a little later on. By the way, it's 4 1/4 a mile that we're doing today. I got a load that requires a tanker endorsement. And so this Flying J is at 265. Now remember, it's 265.9. It's not 265 even. So you multiply that by 100 gallons, it does make a difference. But here's the funny thing. If I drop my trailer and I head over to this Walmart, it's at 188. Now, no, Walmart doesn't have the big high-speed pumps, and it's going to take me, 20, 30 minutes to drive over there and fuel up and come back. But now consider at 188 per gallon versus 265, if I pick up 200 gallons, how much money are we talking? Why do people park at Flying J? I just saw a video where a YouTuber says, well, I park here, because I get free parking. Well, that's cool. So even if it's $20, and let's say another $20 for a shower, which I know they're not that much, but let's just say $40, how much money do you save going to Walmart and fuel versus the 265 here at Flying J? I've told my drivers, if you're driving down the highway and you see a fuel station and it's under $2, pull in, top off. And the first reply I got was, well, but my points. My reply to that was, you're saving me 50 cents a gallon, I'll buy you a shower. This makes no sense. It makes no sense, guys. It's not about how much money you gross, it's about how much money you keep. And so, coming back to a load like this, we're talking right now, I can book any of these. I don't need to make phone calls. I don't need to negotiate with a broker. I don't need any other kind of issue to be addressed. I'm basically already registered with this company. I believe this is XPO's application. But I'm on several of their applications. XPO, Coyote, I've got DAT and Truck Stop and all them. That's all fine and dandy. But how much time do you burn trying to talk to those people? These are easy loads, and the beauty is, if I don't like the rate, I can place a bid. I can place a bid on it, and if they accept it, I got my rate. There's no need for me to hassle or anything else. They accept it, and we go. I saw another YouTube post that, the driver went into California, and then his outbound load canceled, and he was sitting there struggling to find a load. I'm like, seriously? In California? How do you not have a load in California? Why is that not auto sorting? And so there, right off the bat, is almost $4 a mile. Now, Modesto's still within the state, so that would be an intrastate load. 279 is not great. There's $6 a mile, but it's a little local. There's a load going to El Paso, Billings, Montana. Now, here's a load going to Jersey. It's $7,800, but per mile it went down. Now, a thing to keep in mind, over-the-road trucks, the sweet spot in my mind tends to be somewhere between 500 and 800 miles. When you start getting much higher than a day's drive, the rate just doesn't stay as strong. It tends to drop a little bit. And so hotshotters might have the advantage there, because when you consider, if you're going to take 2 pallets from California to, let's just say, Dallas, Texas, you've got all this extra space where, you'll sit there and try and pick up other parcels. That's where hotshots make money, and I get that. And these loads we're talking about, they fill your truck up. I'm pretty sure this 15,000 pounds worth of tires is going to fill the truck up. Plus, going from Rancho Cucamonga to San Diego, it doesn't really leave you a whole lot of time to try and partial in another load. But anyways, so the difference between hotshotting and big rig trucks is the rates aren't as bad as they tell you, for starters. The fuel efficiency with the right truck isn't as bad as they tell you. The longevity of the truck is far superior to a pickup truck. The other thing to consider is when your pickup truck ends up being 4 years old and it's not reliable anymore, you don't have an asset that you can trade in or do anything with. I can take any of my trucks and sell them, and I get money for them. The trucks that I showed you guys originally, these trucks here, I purchased them, 4 of them, for $80,000. A month and a half ago, I sold 2 of them for $30,000 a piece. So I got $60,000 for 2 trucks out of the 4 trucks that I purchased for $80,000. Now, depending on how you want to do that math, I made $10,000 per truck, just as an investment, a return. Or you could say the net cost for the other 2 trucks was $10,000 a piece, because I sold part of the package to pay the rest of the package off. You can slice that one any way you want. Anyone that can do that with a pickup truck, except for Alex Toe Piglet that sold his 500,000-mile truck for $41,000, that being the exception, most of us will not have that. Most of us will see our $60,000 pickup truck worth $15,000 in 4 years, and if you try to trade it in, no one's going to want to buy it. The dealer's not going to want it, is what I'm trying to say. If you try and put it on the open market, a lot of people are going to be afraid of it unless they happen to be a mechanic. And so this idea that I can run a truck in hotshotting for 4 years and then, I can easily sell it more easy than a big rig, highly doubtful. There's always a market for big rigs. Even when the market's down, foreigners come to this country and buy our trucks. If you travel, south, you go to Mexico, you go to any of the southern countries in America, you will find a lot of our trucks make their way down there. If you go to a bigger auction like a Ritchie Brothers where they have 50 trucks for sale, you will find a lot of foreigners coming in and buying blocks and blocks and blocks of these trucks in one shot. They take these things abroad and put them to work. They ship these things all over the world. It's big business. Hey, looky there. There's a new load that just showed up. That one's not so great. Anyways, so the idea here, guys, is it's more than just the revenue you generate. You have to think of what you're purchasing as a long-term investment. There's no equity in a pickup truck. If there was, the mega carriers would be doing it. Mega carriers purchase these rigs brand new at an extremely discounted rate. They come back and sell them 4 years later because they're paid for. They finance them for 4 years. Then at the end of that, they take that money and use it as a down payment on their next truck that's extremely discounted. So before you know it, their payment on a big rig ends up being less than a hotshotter pays for his pickup truck on a monthly basis. That's the key to longevity in this business. If you think that purchasing a brand new truck means you're going to survive longer, you're kind of looking at it from the wrong end. You're taking that telescope and flipping it backwards. That's not going to help you. Anyway, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, I welcome them. Throw them down in the comments. Some people are going to say I'm wrong. I'm cool with that.